Welcome to CEONOW podcast. My name is Lars Hipp, and today I'm so delighted. My guest is Andrea Cates, directly from San Francisco, and she has promised me to enlighten us about Get to the Next and about the 6 principles. So welcome, Andrea.
Thanks, Lars. It's great to be here.
Thank you very much. And today we are a little bit curious because you're also a member of our MBA faculty and you're teaching our executives. So why should they think about Get to Next, and why should they look into your 6 principles for tomorrow's innovation?
Well, one of the things that I love about the Business Institute is that it's a combination of innovation and practical application. And so to me, the Get to Next principles have evolved over time, partly through my conversations and experiences with the students here. I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting about traditional business education is that you learn a lot about theory.
Yes.
What I think is really important is this difference between theory and actual practical experience. And that's what fueled these 6 Get to Next principles.
Okay. And couldn't you enlighten us a little bit about what are the 6 principles?
Well, there's a lot to talk about in one sentence, but then, of course, we'll come back and I'll explain them. The background of them, first of all, is that I sat one day and thought, what is different about what traditional thinking is in business management and what's really needed in today's environment? And so the first thing that fueled this was, what's different? What's really different, radically different in the last 3 to 5 years?
Yes.
So as you know, I was the CEO of a tech company in Silicon Valley, and there's a really fast-paced perspective on digitalization and the impact of platform plays, the impact of being able to have not just a product, but products that become services, and services that become subscriptions, and subscriptions that become entire new ways of looking at predictive analytics, and these plays that are really substantial. And so based on that thinking, I tried to boil it down to 6 very simple things that we aren't taught in traditional business school that today's leaders really need to master. And so I can go ahead, if you'd like me to, and just talk about what they are.
Just highlight the 6 principles, so then we perhaps in another podcast can go more in depth and discuss
Perfect.
it.
Well, I'll go through them briefly. I mean, the first one is that the way that leaders need to think about trends is really different. And so the first one is to fine-tune what I call trend intelligence, the ability to look throughout the landscape, see change that's happening, and master the ability to see ahead. And that's what I would call trend intelligence.
Okay.
The second is the ability to look at technology as your friend. There's a lot of buzzwords,
Yes.
AI, blockchain, VR, AR. Everybody's talking about the same things. Every place I go, they talk about digital disruption.
Yeah.
But very few people have the leadership skills to actually have tech savvy, to really master the content and the technical aspects of technology to figure out where the fit would be for your company.
Okay.
The third is really to think about customer needs in a completely different way. We've focused for the last 10 years on customer service, customer experience, customer satisfaction, delighting customers. In my opinion, that's not a long enough view. What we really have to understand is, what are the emerging needs? How do we discover? How do we excavate customer needs that are not stated? Because by definition, whatever customers are telling us is based on today and yesterday, and we need thinking that's based on tomorrow.
Yes.
The fourth one is something I say all the time, which is nail it before you scale it.
Okay. That's a good sentence.
Yeah. To me, innovation has reached a new level that I think is kind of ironic, because there's so much innovation going on and so many people talking about innovation that I think it's kind of missed the point. There's a lot of risk with doing things differently.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to nail it before you scale it, you run the risk of either A, thinking that your existing company is the same as a startup, or really thinking that you can just innovate and that's better than doing things the old way.
Yeah.
And actually, that's pretty risky, and I wouldn't recommend that. So
Okay,
I think innovation hasn't served us well on all counts.
No.
And so number 5 is this notion of business model innovation. And in the United States, we talk a lot about Amazon.
Yes.
And I talk about Amazonification. Everybody
Okay.
wants to think, how do I become the next, Amazon that goes into these new areas? So basically, it's the ability to develop new business models. And there's lots to talk about, in another time about mastering business model innovation, which is number 5. And number 6, I think, is the most important, and it's very consistent with what the Business Institute does, which is the ability to become a rapid learning machine.
Yes.
For whether you're a small company, whether you're a startup, or whether you're a large company, the ability to be a rapid learning machine and be able to quickly assess whether what you're doing is on track or off track and steer your ship very nimbly through new waters.
Okay, that sounds very, very interesting, and I can see that it has a lot of similarities to the book Sprint, Doing It Fast. I can see it has a lot of similarities to Sense and Response, to be in touch with your market. So thank you very much for enlightening us about the new principles. And if people want to hear more, they can go in and hear your webinar with Jim Chappell. Then they can have a longer and more in-depth insight in that. So thank you very much for taking time.
Thanks for having me, Lars.
Yes, always.